Every story has its collector. The tales of horror, of suffering, of despair. Each one calls to me. But some don't begin with screams or shadows. Some begin with dice on a table. Friends gathered round in laughter, unaware that every roll brought them closer. Closer to her. They thought they were the ones telling the story. But the grid was already marked. The miniatures already chosen. The order already set. And as for the last to act, well, that was never in their hands. Welcome, dear listener, to The Initiative Order Ends With You. Chapter 1, Session 0.
The scent of old pizza boxes, a splash of cherry soda, and the faint hum of lo-fi beats filled the dorm room. Posters of vintage fantasy art clung to the walls beside game maps and stacks of tattered D&D sourcebooks. We have been friends since well before this college bit. We were all sat huddled around a plastic folding table, dice in hand, papers scribbled with notes, laughing between sips of coffee, energy drinks, and exaggerated character voices. Like I said, we've been friends for a while, I would say, all the way back since elementary school. Bonded over weekend games of HeroQuest and Pathfinder, leveling up from board games to full-blown homebrew campaigns. Now here we sit in our early 20s and scattered across different majors. Man, how time flies. Sigh. Even still, there's always been that one constant for us. The table, the dice, and the stories we have created together. I guess introductions to this party are in order. My name is Tyler. I am the Forever Dungeon Master. You could call me a creative powerhouse. Studying literature with a minor in mythology, I live for building worlds, rich histories, layered NPCs, political drama, and eldritch horrors. I look more intelligent than I feel with my goofy thin-rimmed glasses and this damn beat-to-hell notebook that I often feel like it is attached to me. What can I say though, when inspiration strikes, we need to be ready, right? Then we have Mason, the jock turned bard. Major in sports therapy, but loved music and improv. His character, Ravik Stormstring, was a half-elf bard with a tragic backstory and a chaotic neutral flair. Mason played him with flair and heart, often breaking in a cringy, but enthusiastic singing mid-game. I probably should mention he couldn't sing for shit. Next we have the beautiful Elise, the sharp-witted strategist, studied psychology. Her character, Killira Nightvale, was a high-elf rogue assassin. Elise played with surgical precision, loving the tension between secrets and daggers in the dark. She often pointed out plot holes in damn near all of my campaigns, and enjoyed doing it. I found it cute but annoying. Man, I sure do miss those jabs. Finally, we have Jonah. Poor Jonah. He was the quiet one with a love for heavy metal and horror. He was a game design major. His character, Thorn Ironjaw, was a dwarven paladin who had forsaken his order. Lawful good with an edge, Jonah played him like a tortured soul, carrying the weight of a forgotten war. Every table needs that edgy boy, and ours had Jonah. All right, I said while I was in the middle of closing my session notes with a grin. So, are we in agreement? We will be running a 3-weekend arc to start. Rising Evil, Lost Relics, A Cult in the Ruins, and to throw in some of that sweet, sweet homebrew action we all love. I will use the Crimson Hollow Dungeon. The group nodded back at me with excitement. Then their laughter followed as they started to debate spell choices, backstory connections, and party comps. It was not long before I noticed Mason looking at his phone and then took a big-ass stretch.
I could feel the tension in my back lessons sometimes. All you need to do is stretch it out. How long were we sitting here tonight? Everyone looks like they're having fun, and this new world Tyler is coming up with seems to be bound for some laughs. I wonder what else could we do this time around? Oh, I got it. Hey, you guys. I have an idea. Maybe we should find some minis. I want to paint Ravik this time, and I think it would be cool if we all really invested into our characters this time around.
Wow, I really didn't expect that from Mason, if I'm honest. Sure, he's always having fun goofing off, but he wants to do minis? This is awesome, of course. I am down. But before I can even give him the good old smile and high five, I see Elise just overcome with excitement. She breaks off and rushes up and just hits us with a, "Why are we still standing here?" energy. Let's go yesterday.
Oh my god, did he just say minis? I would love to find me a mini for Kilira. I could spend the day just painting her really. Trying to get the right color palette is a skill, you know. Where should we go, though? Ooh. That weird antiquities shop just opened off Main Street. You guys know the one? Totes creepy vibe. It also has some weird stuff in the window that is probably overpriced, but it still could be fun to have a look.
I can't help but chuckle at her small dog energy, as I like to call it. Although I would be lying if I didn't admit I am happy seeing my friends getting excited to jump into another world together, and even more elated to witness the stories they make unfold. Fuck it, I guess we're all gonna go check out this creepy-ass store. Field trip, I screamed, grinning. Let's go get tetanus and cursed. I hope you're updated on your shots, I threw in jokingly.
Chapter 2. The Shop.
We kind of lost track of time, to be honest. I looked at my watch, and it was midnight already, and I just suggested we all just crash together and check it out tomorrow. So the next day, we all woke to a dreary Saturday in fog-filled streets, but we wasn't going to let that stop our adventure, and so we stepped into Wayland's Relics. A tiny rusted bell chimed overhead as we entered. The air was heavy with the scent of incense and mothballs. The walls were cluttered with relics that looked stolen from a Victorian seance. Dusty tomes, tarnished jewelry, dolls with missing eyes. The man behind the counter, tall, pale, with eyes too bright, smiled a smile that set me with a sense of unease. He was ghostly looking with strange blue eyes and a shadowed face. He was sharply dressed with a suit and a waistcoat. He looked like he was straight out of Victorian England. I think my eyes must have been playing tricks on me, because I swore it looked like the little light there was in the shop was running from him. As soon as he notices us, he locked eyes with Jonah and gave him this shit-eating grin.
Welcome to my little haunt, dear customer. Are you looking for something specific?
I must admit, I am not one to normally lead this group. I just somehow found my way at the front today. So I guess I would answer this offsetting man for us. Miniatures, I replied. We're starting a new campaign. He looked confused at first. At least, I think the look was a confusion. He tilted his head, looking down a dark aisle.
Miniatures, you say? Yeah, there is the case near the back. Maybe there you will find what you need.
As we just sort of peered down this dark aisle, I edged my group along. I am bringing up the rear as we make our way down it, but I swear he had the knowing grin on his face as we left his company. At the back of this dead-end aisle, in a worn glass display, nestled among cracked pewter knights and chipped dragon figurines, sat 4 miniatures, oddly pristine. A bard with a lute raised high, a robed elven rogue mid-dash, a dwarf holding a hammer, cracked with age, and a cloaked figure holding a crooked staff that hadn't been part of anyone's design. Yet it looked eerily like my personal avatar from an old campaign I never shared.
These are perfect.
Mason said, reaching for Ravik's mini.
They match us. Look at the detail.
Mesa was a little too excited, or maybe it is just because I show little emotion, but these figures were a little too accurate for my liking. I had to say something, right? That's weird. That hammer looks just like... I was cut off by the voice of the store owner. He had somehow got right behind us. How did we not hear him at all?
I see you found exactly what you needed. $20 for the set. Once you buy them, you must know. Like everything in my shop, there are no trades. No refunds. It is yours from now until you depart.
Looking at the set, it was just too good of a deal to pass up, honestly. I didn't think we would find anything in this shop, but yet here sat our perfect minis. Of course I bought them.
Chapter 3. The First Roll.
The following Friday night, we gathered again, snacks ready, maps drawn. The smell of dry erase markers and microwaved ramen filled our room. The 4 miniatures stood at the center of the battle grid, freshly painted and eerily lifelike. Elise had done the painting. She was the best with fine detail. But something about the paint didn't sit right with her. The brushstrokes had sunk too deep into the resin, like the figures had absorbed the color. They didn't feel like plastic anymore. The finish was just slightly sticky, no matter how long they dried. Still, she said nothing. I set the tone with a dark monologue about a cult rising from beneath the ancient ruin of Crimson Hollow. The party had been hired to escort a merchant to a nearby town, only to find it in ruins, its people vanished, the ground scorched with arcane symbols. Standard fare, but I felt like this narration had a certain weight to it that night. Like I wasn't just describing darkness, I was channeling it. Even with this tension building, you know how tabletop can be. Your players will cut it with a bazooka. My bazooka, Mason.
Let me guess. Tentacles next.
But only if we let Jonah talk to anything with a face.
But Jonah was quiet that night. He hadn't said much all week. He'd been having strange dreams, gray hallways, whispering voices, a heavy pressure in his chest he couldn't explain. Still, he played. Thorn Ironjaw led the charge, hammer in hand. They made it through the first encounter easily, a group of corrupted wolves. But in the second session, things took a darker turn. The party entered the hollow and found a desecrated temple. There, they were ambushed by an ancient wraith. In-game, Jonah rolled poorly. Thorn took a critical hit, necrotic damage. The wraith's claws passed through your armor, I described, hooking beneath your ribs and yanking your spirit downward. Your vision blurs. Your heartbeat slows. Thorn fell. Died. The first PC death of the campaign. Jonah just stared at the board.
I'll roll a death save.
I shook my head and started my explanation to him about this creature. This thing feeds on valor. It devours you. Short of a wish, I am afraid this ends the tale of Thorn Ironjaw, the mighty dwarven paladin. In retrospect, I wish I had better tuned this encounter and made different rules on the spot. If only I had known what was to come.
Damn fucker killed me. Haha. Okay. Guess I'll re-roll a cleric.
We all laughed, but something felt really wrong.
Chapter 4. The First Death.
Jonah didn't show up to class on Monday. At first, no one panicked. He was quiet, brooding, someone who could disappear for a day or two and blame it on headphones and lost sleep. But when Tuesday came, and I couldn't reach him, and Mason said Jonah hadn't been seen at band practice, and Elise checked his dorm only to find the door locked from the inside, that's when the worries set in. Campus police were called to do a welfare check. They knocked twice, no answer. The RA fumbled with a master key, and the door creaked open into silence. Jonah's desk lamp was still on. His laptop screen glowed with a login screen. The smell hit them first, copper and something sweet, metallic and sticky, clinging to the air. He was crumpled on the floor beside his chair, his body twisted unnaturally, like a puppet dropped mid-performance. His mouth hung open. His eyes were bloodshot and bulging, as if he had seen something just before. The paramedics were silent. The ME was baffled. His chest had collapsed inward, ribs crushed as though someone, or something, had reached through his back and pulled them inward like broken wings. There were no external lacerations, no bruising, no defensive wounds, just thin trails of blood leaking from his nostrils, ears, and down the corner of his mouth, like a ritual bleeding. Not an injury. But it was the desk that chilled Elise to her core when she was questioned later, because sitting upright, perfectly placed and staring directly at Jonah's corpse, was the miniature of Thorn Ironjaw. Its painted face had somehow changed. No one could prove it, of course, but Elise was sure. The mouth had been solemn before. Now, it cast an eerie grin. I just sat in my room that night, listening to the silence. My phone buzzed with condolences and group messages from friends and classmates who suddenly remembered Jonah's name. But all I could hear was my own voice, replaying last session's narration over and over again. The wraith's claws pass through your armor, hooking beneath your ribs and yanking your spirit downward. I hadn't meant anything by it. I just had been in the zone, caught up in the scene. But now, it echoed like prophecy. I looked at the 3 remaining miniatures on my shelf. Maybe I was just tired, but I swore I heard a whisper.
1 down. 3 to go.
Chapter 5, Session 2.
We decided to not cancel the game. I wish I would have, but there are things we can't change now. Jonah's death left a hole, yes, but it also left a question. One we weren't ready to ask aloud. None of us brought it up, but we all were thinking the same thing. The way he died. The way Thorn Ironjaw died. The miniature. My hands trembled as I unfolded the new map. A dense forest filled with whispers and winding trails. The Blackroot Wilds. The party was tracking rumors of a cult shrine hidden deep within. Mason cracked jokes to ease the tension. Elise didn't laugh. She noticed the bard's miniature, the one she had painted with care just last week, now had a tiny crack running down the lute, a fissure that hadn't been there before. She didn't say anything, so the party quested on. The session went well. Too well. They avoided traps, navigated the woods, and encountered a mysterious NPC, the Crowmast Oracle, who offered visions of their past and foretold betrayal among them. It felt too real. I had written the character weeks ago, but the dialogue spilled out of me like it had been whispered into my brain. They reached a small glade where enemies ambushed them, spectral knights with barbed chains. Ravik, Mason's bard, made a heroic leap to protect Kalira, Elise's rogue. But the dice turned. The chains wrap around Ravik's neck, I said. They tighten, lift you from the ground. You strum a final note, and it chokes in your throat. Mason tried to play it off with a joke.
Damn, I died. Guess that's a wrap on this concert tour.
I think we all understood why he did it, but the end result was the same. No one laughed. I think we could all feel the unsaid worry lingering amongst us. So we ended this session here and wished each other a good night, and we would see each other tomorrow to discuss the plan going forward.
Chapter 6. The Second Death.
Mason died the next night. His roommate found him hanging from the ceiling crossbeam. The chair hadn't fallen. He had climbed up willingly and placed it back under himself, as though he had wanted it neat. But the horror came in the details. The skin around Mason's neck wasn't just bruised. It was blackened, twisted, and torn in narrow circular patterns, like he hadn't been hanged by a single rope, but by several thin wires, crisscrossing his flesh like tight piano strings. His tongue had been bitten clean through, his vocal cords torn. There were bruises on his hands, claw marks, dug in his own throat, scratching from the inside. The coroner said it looked like he had tried to sing while being strangled. At his bedside, on his nightstand, sat Ravik's miniature, now cracked in half, with the strings from his lute dislodged. The funeral was quieter than Jonas. 2 deaths in 1 week. Elise sent me a string of text where I was able to piece together the following events. She sat alone in her dorm that night, spinning her dice between her fingers. Her rogue mini sat in front of her, perfectly still, yet every time she blinked, she swore it moved. Just slightly, turning toward her. She opened her window to let air in. That's when she said she heard it. A soft twang, like a stringed instrument echoing from the shadows. A chord she recognized. Ravik's final song. She slammed the window shut, but the melody kept playing, drifting from nowhere. I wrote this off as stress from another friend's death. I think it was hitting us all hard. Man, was I wrong.
Chapter 7. Elise's Nightmare.
We didn't play the next weekend. Tyler begged for some time off so he could have time to rewrite the campaign. I didn't argue. I hadn't been sleeping. In fact, my dreams had become so vivid that I had started sketching what I saw in my dreams. A woman made of bone and shadow, draped in chains. Her face, a cracked mask of Tyler's voice. In the sketches, she was always surrounded by dead adventurers. My roommate woke to screaming 2 nights later. Found me sitting in the middle of the floor, fingernails torn almost bare, skin under my eyes scraped raw. I couldn't explain why I was digging at my own face. I swore I saw something in the mirror, a reflection that smiled back at me even when I wasn't. Then there was that damned whispering voice that promised me secrets, begged me to come closer. Is it just a coincidence that I made my rogue for the purpose of finding secrets? She did her job if I can be proud of anything. It is that she did her job, right?
Chapter 8. The Third Cut.
It was like a goddamn gnawing. That itch that wouldn't go away. That fucking desire to play. What the fuck is wrong with us? I guess Elise was feeling it too, because she insisted on playing again. 2 deaths, 2 miniatures, and still, she wanted back at the table. I tried to resist, I swear. I hadn't left my apartment in 4 days. I hadn't eaten in 2. The miniature of the cloaked figure, the one that hadn't belonged to any character, had somehow made its way to my pillow. I didn't remember putting it there. How the fuck did he get here? Still, when Elise texted, "one last session," for them, I agreed. We have to finish this for them. We met in her dorm. The energy was brittle, like glass under tension. The rogue mini sat in the center of the grid. Its blade now appeared wet, as if freshly dipped in blood. Elise swore she hadn't painted it that way.
Something is definitely not right with these minis. They seem to be always changing. Thank you, Tyler, for agreeing to finish this. I don't want to die not knowing what this was all for.
Please don't thank me. I don't honestly think we would have much of a choice. There's something always calling us back to this damn table. I think this was just the inevitable outcome. I guess we should begin. Kalira walks alone now, deep in a ruined temple. Crimson Hollow has opened. Blood seeps from the walls. The whispers grow louder. They speak your name. They speak Jonah's name. Mason's name. You descend into the final chamber. Torches light themselves with violet flame. A stone altar stands in the center. Upon it, 4 small statues, each carved to resemble you. A 5th one waits, unfinished. Elise, roll me a perception check.
Nat 20.
You see everything. Every death. Every scream. Jonah's bones breaking from the inside. Mason clawing at the cords around his throat. And something else, dozens more. Other players. Other campaigns. The same minis. The same game. The same blood-soaked end. And behind the altar, cloaked in shadows, is her. The Whispering Woman. Eyes like obsidian knives. Joints that bend backward. Her mouth unhinges. And she says,
"You've always been mine, little thief."
Chapter 9. Elise's last roll.
Her roommate found her the next morning. She hadn't screamed. There was no sign of struggle. Just Elise, slumped against the wall, hands limp, mouth wide open in a silent gasp. Her eyes were gone. Not gouged, not ripped. Just gone, as if they'd been removed with perfect surgical care. On the wall behind her was a symbol etched in blood. A spiral, broken in the center, burned in with something hot, and scattered around her body were torn up shreds of sketchbook pages. Dozens of images of her own face, drawn over and over. Each one more warped, more skeletal, until the final one was just a hole. A blank void. Her mini had been placed on her chest. A dagger stabbed clean through it. When the paramedics arrived, they swore they heard faint laughter echo from the walls, like the chuckle of a child, or the whisper of a dying god. Only one remained. Me. And the final figure was myself.
Final chapter. One last session.
I didn't leave my room. I didn't go to Jonah's grave. I didn't speak at Mason's memorial. I didn't answer Elise's final voicemail, the one that ended in static and something that wasn't her voice whispering my name. The miniatures were all there now. 3 painted, 1 cracked, 1 stabbed, all staring at me from the table. The 5th, still blank, still waiting. I should have burned them. I thought about it. Lighter in hand, gasoline in reach. But every time I tried, the voice, the same one I gave to the Oracle, the one that whispered her riddles into my mind, now whispering directly to me.
You told this story, Tyler. You wrote the ending. You gave us life. So come now, finish it.
Fuck it. I gave in. Laid out the map one last time. Lit the candles. Sat alone across from the empty chairs where my friends once laughed, rolled dice, and dreamed up heroes. I set his figure on the board. Tyler, the game master. But I wasn't the GM anymore. The board had taken that role. The map was different now. New symbols bled through the paper. Black ink seeping up from underneath. Arcane glyphs unfamiliar names, broken languages. The dungeon was gone. Now, only a mirror stood in the center of the map. I looked into it and saw myself, pale, gaunt, hollow-eyed. But it wasn't just a reflection. It was a version of me still smiling, and smiling wide, grinning like the first miniature had. "Welcome to your session 0, the reflection said. So, there you have it. I'm probably dead by now, and all that is left of me is my DM notes in this old damn notebook. I guess I finally found a way to part with it after all. If you do find this, please find a way to destroy these minis and get our story out. Don't let another table fall prey to this curse. One last roll. Tyler, out."
Epilogue. Game over. The dorm room was locked. They found Tyler days later. He was hunched over the board, his hands nailed through the palms into the table with tiny metal spikes, miniature-sized weapons, twisted and sharp. His mouth was stitched shut with copper wire, and carved into his chest was a single phrase: "The story demands blood." His eyes were open, dry, glassy, and watching. On the board, a new miniature had appeared. Unpainted, but unmistakably him. The fifth figure, complete. A new session begins. Somewhere, far away from the college dorms and candlelit tables, a girl walked into a thrift store. Rain on her coat, backpack slung over her shoulder. She browsed the shelves, ignored the dusty knickknacks, until she saw them. A small wooden box, with 5 beautifully carved miniatures inside. One of them looked just like the rogue she'd rolled the night before. She smiled, picked it up,
"Perfect," she said.
and behind her, the store clerk, a pale ghostly man with oddly blue eyes and a shadowed face, smiled wider. "Oh yes," he chuckled, "they're always perfect. They could be yours for $20 for the set. Once you buy them, you must know. Like everything in my shop, there are no trades. No refunds. It is yours from now until you depart." He gave a knowing smile and tucked away an old DM's notebook. Another story to add to the collection. Another turn taken. Another life spent. They rolled in hope. They died in order. And the game never ended. Now the board waits again. 5 figures. 1 blank space. And somewhere, another player reaches for a die. Another session begins. Another fate is sealed. And when the pieces fall, one by one, the initiative order ends with you. Until next time, brave soul. The table is set.